Well,
at
speaking
all.
about Tesla,
Let's go
they
there.
actually had a pop of sorts. And so as Meta went down, Tesla went up and went up again today. So bullish for Meta over these last 4 or 5 days. I mean, bullish for Tesla over these last 4 or 5 days, while bearish for Meta. So we've talked about Tesla a lot, and they had a lot of downward trajectory, and they had all kinds of issues with their Cybertruck. But their stock is on the rise. So why did Tesla pop and Meta drop?
Tesla went up because it was at a price where you could not afford to. You could not invest in it. Like the all-time highs in the 400s, it fell to 138. It's a price I called for Stock Club. Congrats to all of you who got in and those of you who shorted down to the area. But at 139 is such a deal of a buy. I think that time emotions outweighed the fundamentals. And of course, he went to China, had to kiss the ring. Great. So now he has the deal in China. But I think it popped because the price went so low. There's too much risk to the upside. So if you're looking for a 3x return, 2x return, you can easily get that out of Tesla. Now, as to Meta, they were pretty much at the top of the market. So them falling 15% was a lot of profit taking. But Tesla was at a price where it was too low to not buy it. So I can see a lot of technicians coming in and buying at that 139, 142 price and probably riding it up to like 280.
Yeah, they dropped 47%. Again, and when we saw the news, everything we had spoke about, even on last week's show, was all the negatives that we thought would have the stock move further down. Like how far would it fall? Deliveries were down, right? We talked about the Cybertruck. We talked about production. We talked about some of the suspensions at the plants. What were the numbers going to look like? And for Meta, when they talked about future guidance, there was some hesitation and some weakness there. For Tesla, the future trajectory was pretty good, right? So when we're talking about the low-cost vehicle, I know we kept going back and forth. Are they going to be a luxury brand? Where do they fit in? I think they've fully cemented themselves, and we're not going to be a luxury brand. Let's get the value in play. And so originally they were saying that the low-cost vehicle wouldn't be here to 2026. That has now been pushed up to early 2025. So now you got a vehicle that will probably be around the $20,000 mark. You'll get probably people buying in at that. The other thing is that they said the deliveries, right? They said there's going to be an increase in the deliveries. I know the first quarter didn't look great, but going forward, obviously with some of the shutdowns in the plants, those things have been fixed. There's going to be more deliveries going forward. And then they announced this robotaxi, man. This robotaxi and the ride ship, which could be very interesting. On top of that, you obviously today with them Elon being in China on Sunday and getting the deal done, they have now been passed to do full self-driving vehicles in China. And so now you're talking about autonomous driving in a country that you're trying to make a market share in. We talked about them losing some of it to some of the auto market in China already. And so now you're thinking, all right, well, if they have autonomous driving, they've been fully approved to have full self-driving. This is something that could really show future growth from a rideshare perspective, but also from a vehicle purchasing perspective. And so there's positive signs looking forward, as opposed to when we talked about the weakness in the guidance for Meta. So I was surprised myself. Ian, I text you. I'm like, what is going on? We saw an increase by, I think, 7%. The China news today brought it up by another 12%. And so Tesla's on a run.
My question is, what's the ratio of promises kept off these earnings calls that Elon makes? Go do the homework assignment number 2. Shout out to everyone at Tesla. But sometimes he will promise things and then they won't deliver. He'll do the Kanye.
He'll say it with confidence. We talked about that, right? When we talking about pitching.
But you got to deliver on the thing that you're saying.
Well, they have, up until the past couple of quarters, they have been, the delivery numbers have been good, right? 2023 was a pretty good year for them. Well, beginning of 2023, 2022 was pretty good.
Yep.
It scaled down a little bit. Again, they said that has a lot to attribute to some of the issues that they were having with some of their plants, some of the suspensions. So that hopefully has changed for their sake. When we look at the production numbers, 2022 was a pretty good year. 2023, midway through the year, you start to see those production numbers hit its expectations. Obviously, toward the ends of last year in the fourth quarter, and this year, the first quarter, the numbers have dramatically of going down, but they said it's attributed to a lot of the suspensions at the plants. They had to shut some of them down for a few weeks at the time. And so having production increase, having a low price car coming into the fold, into the fleet, and now having this autonomous driving inside of China, scaling looks likely. Production.
Dar's a hell of a competitor to go against in that robo-taxi business.
It's going to be interesting.
A hell of a competitor.
Yeah.
And the low-cost car, I think, is still a mistake. Profit margin, 15.5%. Gross margin, 18.25%, which puts it in the red if it's classified as a tech company. I don't know if you guys saw he wanted to be reclassified as no longer a tech company, which is interesting to change the valuation.
There was also an increase in services too. So like that was one of those underlying things that people, if you didn't look at inside of the earnings report, their services had increased by 15%. Whether that's people getting the batteries or people using the stations, they still provide other things other than you having the actual vehicle, which is smart on their part.
Let's get to the business tea. Why do you think Dustin came out and said that they are the new Enron? Now, for Dustin, for those of you who don't know, co-founder of Facebook with Zuckerberg, right? Founder of Asana, multi-billionaire. So he's not a broke boy just talking. For him to say that publicly, he knows something.
So who's the new Enron?
Saying Tesla is.
Tesla.
Those are harsh words.
That's also too, I know he going down the lane that others go, but for him to say that knowing that he could be sued, he's not going to say something that will put him in a position to potentially get litigation.
Yeah. Enron, I don't think
that's too strong.
Yeah, it's harsh.
That's strong.
That's really harsh.
Yeah.
But then, people always have questions about Elon. It's very Tesla. If you look at their stock, it's always been extremely volatile.
Yeah,
just like his personality. And for full transparency, as a disclosure, I am actually in a Tesla call for 2026. So,
and I'm a long-term investor. And Elon will be at InvestFest. Get your tickets. I'm just joking.
Breaking news.
Breaking news alert.
We own shares in the company.
So, so we do have calls. Maybe we can actually break down a case study on a Tesla call, because I was interested. That's been an interesting ride. I was down 40% on my Tesla call last week, and
Hey, Ian, I got a call about that. I told him check today.
Well, I'm up 15%.
Monday's the best day.
I'm up 15% today. So yeah, maybe we can do a case study to kind of break that down next week. And you talk about it on your options class too. EYL University. Make sure that you get your subscription
Tap in.
up for choice option class next Thursday. But I feel that Elon is one of these things that he is very similar to James Harden. It's like the Clippers.
Wait, what? He went from Kanye to James Harden?
This is a new one, y'all. Hold on. Let me get this back now. All right, James Harden.
Paul George, James Harden. If you watched the game yesterday,
the game was good.
James Harden he's probably the most talented offensive player that the NBA has ever seen.
So that's crazy. I'd said that before.
When he's playing,
we agree.
When he's playing on his A game, he's actually unstoppable. Luka, I don't even know why he tried to guard him. Then they switched. They put Kyrie on him. He was too small. Then they put PJ
Washington,
and he couldn't. You can't stop him. The problem is that he's inconsistent. And the problem is that it's like just when you think, okay, this is the time he's going to lead his team to the finals, he scores 6 points and then he's in
10 turnovers,
follies later on that night. So
shout out to follies.
It's hard to really have long-term outlook for somebody who is such an irrational player, but they're extremely talented. So there's no denying that Elon Musk is an extremely talented entrepreneur, and he's obviously a genius. He's obviously a genius, right? But his behavior is extremely irrational, and it's hard to predict his leadership abilities, and as a result, what his company is going to do, right? Because you don't really know what he's going to do personally, and the company is so tied to him that it's kind of difficult. But you can still make a lot of money on it. Like people that invested in Tesla during the pandemic, they made a lot of money because the stock went up, the stock skyrocketed, right? So you have to, if you're invested in Tesla stock, you got to monitor this situation very closely.
Yeah, 30% drops are common.
Yeah, I mean that's what I said. It's 47% drop. But not only did people that invested in Tesla make money, you got to think about all the ETFs that had Tesla that make money, right? We talk about ARK and all the funds which Tesla was leading. It got added to the S&P. So you're talking about
XLY.
yeah, I mean there's so many ETFs that made money off of Tesla. But it is volatile. I agree with you with that. But is it ultimately a company we believe in long term?
Yeah, I've been since 2018. So yeah, but you have to be careful of where to buy.